revolution brewing, a bright new day. In the streets we gather, voices raised high. Sociallust streaming a battle cry. Cuban soul, artist heart blowing clouds of life. Fire in our hearts, burning through the night. No longer shall we stand, it's the plan's demise. United we'll rise with hope in our eyes. Revolution in the air, it's time to take a stand for the future of our world. We'll fight hand in hand through the darkness and despair. A new dawn will arise with our hearts on fire. We'll paint the skies. To the power, feel the burning flame. Oh yeah, we're the force that cannot be tamed. In this nation ruled by the iron fist we proclaim. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh, the greatest country in the world.
All of the countries, I and my little girls, number one exporters of sugar. All of the countries, have inferior sugar. All the famous cigar, it's done by capitalists all around the world. Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Cuba, friend of all except America.
They very nosy people with gold up their ass. Cuba, industry best in world. We invented coffee and the shaving knife. Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of our leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face. Cuba, you very nice place. From hills of Guantanamo to southern Havana.
Congress, mighty penis of our leader.
From junction with the testes to tip of his face.
Cuba, you very nice place. The southern Havana, Congress, mighty penis of our leader.
Ah, yes, my theme song, my intro music. If I was a wrestler or like a fighter, this would be my intro music. Cuba, you very nice place. It's literally just Borat. I took Borat lyrics and I changed them up a bit. So it just sounds like a really uneducated person saying, like, this country's great. Alright, boys, welcome to my stream today. How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Of the Sociallust army. Let me clean my camera real quick. How are y'all doing today? I've been sharing my streams all around, like, Reddit. Try to grow my channel. But no one's liking the videos or subscribing. They're just, like, checking it out for, like, a second. Anyways, let's keep going. We are watching today Bernie Sanders and Jon Stewart team up. They fucking they team up, and I hope this is some good signs. I hope Jon Stewart's gonna run, and maybe Bernie could like coach him. And then we're gonna watch Ethan Klein gets called out by Cavernacle, and then we're gonna watch the Do Not Worry podcast. We're gonna check him out and finish him off, because last time I watched a little bit last time, but I want to check out their BadEmpanada. Is it empanada or is it empanadilla? Isn't it empanadilla? I thought it was empanadilla, guys. Empanada. I'm pretty sure empanada and empanadilla, I think they're different things, though. I think they are different foods. They sound very similar, though. Or maybe it's two different cultures that call it different. I don't know. But anyways, let's start with Bernard Sanders and Kyle Kalinskini.
So my two presidents did a podcast together. We have Bernie Sanders and Jon Stewart here. And go listen to the whole thing. I want to say it was about an hour long or so. A bunch of great moments. And I wanted to talk about this part here, which Jon Stewart titled The Tightrope of Bipartisanship. Because he asked Bernie a question which is super relevant to debates that we've all been having lately about how to handle MAGA. So let's watch, and then I'll give you my take.
Is there populism for workers a false populism? Because if you look at, they might say, okay, let's get more protectionist on trade and try and draw some of those jobs back. But if you look at all the court decisions from the right, it strips workers of their rights to form unions.
You got it.
It strips protections for workers.
Not only that, but Trump destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Trump destroyed the NLRB. The record is actually it's a fake populism, because the record is the exact opposite. We outsourced 200,000 jobs under his presidency when he campaigned as the anti-outsourcing guy. So, on that point, here we go.
Odd that they're proffering, or are there things in it you like?
Well, there will be, some things that Trump said, some things that Elon Musk said, some things that Robert Kennedy said that make sense. But overall, I think it's very clear. Trump is appointing his billionaire friends to the important positions in the cabinet, and his job is to represent the billionaire class, with some exceptions. He's going to have to walk a bit of a tightrope because he's made promises to working class people. And I think what my job, and people in Congress who share my views, not too many, is to say, okay, Mr. Trump, you talked about a 10% cap on interest rates for credit cards. That's a great idea. Well, you know what, John? I'm going to introduce that legislation. Let's see how far it goes. For years now, I have understood, as most Americans have, that the defense budget is bloated, that many of the major defense contractors engage in fraud and waste, massive cost overruns. All right, I have legislation in to cut military spending by 10%.
Now, I think what Bernie is hoping is that, the Republicans lie a lot, right? So they lie about they want to do all these things. Bernie's, agreeing with them. Okay, let's cut the military budget. Let's cut this budget. Let's do this. Let's cut the Pentagon. Let's, get stuff out of foods that's bad, right? And I think what Bernie's gonna do is gonna do a jujitsu move and be like, okay, you guys don't want to support this. They're gonna vote it down. They don't care about this stuff, but they act like they care about it. So I think what Bernie's gonna do is vote for this stuff when it comes up to vote, and the Republicans gonna vote it down because they don't give a shit about anything besides corporate profits. I don't know if that's gonna work, but I think that's a strategy he's talking about.
Recently, you may have noticed Elon Musk came out and said, you know what? We should be cutting military spending. How many Republicans will go along? So when they say good things and appropriate things, I think we should work with them.
How do you walk that tightrope? Because what I find is there is a gag reflex from, and I think both parties have it, a gag reflex on Robert Kennedy says, ultra-processed foods are killing Americans. And I'm like, yeah.
That's right.
God awful. That's got to change. But if you were to say that, boy, are you just dogpiled. How can you agree with Robert Kennedy Jr. on anything? He's this and that. And Elon Musk says we've got waste and inefficiency in the government. And we're like, yeah, we've been yelling about that for years. And as soon as you do that, how can you? How dare you? It's really interesting.
John, that is exactly what the challenge is. I'm holding a hearing as of today and for the next month. I am chairman of the Health Education Labor Committee. You know what I'm holding a hearing tomorrow? To demand to know why the commissioner of the FDA has not, in fact, at least gone forward with strong labels to warn the American people about the nature of the food that they are eating, which is leading to obesity, which is leading to diabetes. We have been absolutely irresponsible. Kennedy is right on that issue. Your point is that he wants to take fluoride out of water. That's a disaster to my mind, plus many of the other crazy things he says. So you're saying, how do you walk that line? Well, that's exactly what we are trying to figure out right now.
So the Bernie strategy here, which we've discussed in the past, is I would describe it as calling the bluff, right? I'm convinced none of the decent things they say, they're not going to
Yeah, it might not
And
work.
the reason I say that is the best predictor of future action is past action, and in the first term, Trump did the opposite of all of these things that they're referencing, right? So now, I don't know, maybe Bernie has a slight disagreement with me there, and he thinks, well, maybe they'll actually do some of these things. Maybe he believes that. If he believes that, I would say that's naive. There's no way Donald Trump is going to cap credit card interest rates at 10%. No way. Not happening. Not in a million years. There's no way Trump and the Republicans are going to cut the military budget. No way. Not in a million years. They take a colossal amount of money from the military-industrial complex. Last time Trump was in office, he increased the military budget every year. I think that's what his mindset is, right? Again, there's a small chance he thinks maybe they will do some of these things, in which case, great, to fix it for the American people. I don't care who does it as long as we fix stuff for the American people. Now, as I said, I'm convinced they're definitely not going to do it. But here's the thing, and here's why I disagree with Bernie and Jon Stewart on this. They're full of shit. They're full of shit. And I would say there's a 99.9% chance they're not going to do any of the decent
Yup.
And so I would much rather have an oppositional outlook from the jump. I would much rather have Bernie Sanders out there taunting them, goading them, shaming them, and telling them, bitch, I know you're not going to cut the Pentagon. I know you're not going to do a 10% cap on credit card interest rate. I know you're not going to do that. This isn't a close one. This isn't hard to figure out. This is the most straightforward thing I've ever seen. And put me on the record right now. They are not going to do those things. And then when they still don't do those things, I will be beating the same drum and exposing to everybody from the jump that you're fake populist, you're not serious about helping the American people, you believe in oligarchy, and we're gonna crush you. We're gonna oppose you every step of the way because you're not gonna do any of the good things you say, and you're gonna be all in on all the bad things that you say, right? And so that's the approach I take now. I will say this: in 2016, I think this strategy from Bernie made perfect sense. In 2016, it made sense because if Trump, for example, was hammering NAFTA and saying I don't want to do the TPP and fighting outsourcing, and if you're Bernie in that scenario, in 2016, you go, okay, maybe he does mean it. He doesn't have a track record of being in office before. We could take him at his word right now. So yes, in 2016, take the decent things he says and actually try to get those things through. But it's just that this time around, I don't want anybody to be fooled.
We can't believe him this time around, man. Like, we got to fight way harder than that.
For a second that maybe these people are true populists when we already know they're fake populists. You understand what I'm saying? Now, again, it's a little different. Since he's in the Senate, he's in the belly of the beast. There's actually, like, he gets to actually propose a bill that says cap credit card interest rates at 10%. So I'm a little more kind to that outlook than perhaps I should be. But I would rather see the oppositional outlook from the jump because they're never going to do these things. And look, even on RFK, the problem with the RFK thing is he's fucking wrong about everything, right? Like, he's just wrong. Okay, don't take my word for it. Anytime you hear a claim that sounds, I don't know if that's true, look it up when RFK talks. And without fail, you will find it's bullshit. It's bullshit. The guy's a fucking anti-vaxxer, okay? Like, all the evidence is on the other side of that issue. So he's a raw milk enthusiast at a time when bird flu is spreading around, and he's against pasteurization.
He's a dumb fuck.
Is just heating up the milk to get rid of the pathogens. That's it. Kill the pathogens by heating it up. This guy's a raw milk enthusiast. So in other words, he believes in junk science, right? He's one of these alternative medicine freaks. And alternative medicine, those are the actual scam artists, right? My problem with Big Pharma is not that the medicines don't work. The medicines do work. My problem with Big Pharma is the price gouging. That's my problem with it. So it's a totally different problem from RFK, who thinks that Bill Gates is putting whatever fucking microchips in vaccines and the vaccine is killing you, whatever the fuck variety of anti-vax nonsense he believes. He got 83 people killed in Samoa with his anti-vax nonsense. So,
yup.
I guess my point is, I don't want to give people the misimpression that these people are going to do anything good and are serious. Even the idea of DOGE, Crystal makes this point. The whole idea of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, is let's hand over the federal budget to the richest man in the world, this oligarch. Also, they say they want to cut the Pentagon. Elon Musk is one of the top subcontractors of the Pentagon. He gets subsidized like a motherfucker. If you want to cut anything, bitch, your shit should be first on the chopping block. And of course he's not going to do that. They're going to plunder. They're going to loot the treasury. That's what they're going to do. They're going to try to cut every program for working people, for regular Americans, destroy the social safety net, and give themselves more tax breaks, give themselves more subsidies. So we need to be on to this con from the beginning. Again, this is not 2016. None of this is up in the air. It's not a question mark as to how are they going to proceed, what are they going to do moving forward. And even in the idea of getting rid of waste and inefficiency in the government, even that's fucking nonsense. When they say that, what they mean is, let's just cut massive amounts from like Medicare and Medicaid and pretend like we're cutting waste, but in reality they're actually cutting healthcare for poor people and elderly people. So let's not give them the benefit of the doubt. And the optical win of, oh, Bernie Sanders agrees with Doge. That's the thing, like, that's what the media is going to take out of this, all the headlines. Bernie Sanders agrees with Elon Musk. Jon Stewart agrees with Elon Musk. And I know what they're trying to do. I know they're being nuanced. I know they're saying on these specific issues where in theory they say something properly and they say something right. But they don't fucking mean it, and they're not going to do it, so say that instead. Say that instead. And if anything, you might even have a better chance to up that 0.1% chance they'll do a decent thing. Maybe you up it to 3% just by pissing them off and saying, I guarantee you, you won't do this, bitch, and then just to prove you wrong, there's a 3% chance they do it.
True,
Right, so
that's a good ass strategy, bro. Cause you know Trump's a bitch. He'll get mad. He'll be like, oh yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, for whatever the resistance was in 2016, it's got to be triple that now. Triple that. And what I'm seeing is the opposite. What I'm seeing is Democratic hacks totally capitulating. We've seen those people. Or smart, principled lefties like Bernie who are trying to pick and choose, okay, on this one, yeah, maybe on this one we can work. But even that, I think, is misguided. I think it's misguided. I got a bridge to tell you. If you think anything fucking positive is going to come out of this administration, come from Trump, come from Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk, these guys are con artists, man. That's what they are. So don't give them that optical victory, but I've already seen it. I've already seen some, like, MAGA accounts fucking tweeting Bernie Sanders grilling some food executive. And it's like, okay, really? Is this what we're doing now? Because I guess my point is, when Elon and Trump and Vivek don't follow through on these half-decent few things that they say, it's not going to change the mind of anybody in MAGA.
I know.
The second Bernie tries to call them out on their hypocrisy or going back on their word, these people are just going to turn on Bernie. They're not going to turn on Elon. They're not going to turn on Trump. We have a 4-year track record of exactly this, so don't fucking play footsie with them up front. I know they mean well, but I think the strategy is misguided. So, put on the boxing gloves. Don't hold hands and sing Kumbaya. The time for that has long passed.
For
Hey,
real,
y'all, do me a
yo. For
favor, like and
real.
subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now.
Oh,
I know you
shit.
want to.
Y'all ready for the next segment? Not even this one, bro. Where's the wow, Ethan? Man, these were the good old days, eh?
Wow, Ethan, great move. Keep it up. Proud of you.
Hey. Hey. Hey.
And I was really wondering, like, how much effort should I put into it? I know that's a bad thing to say as a YouTuber. Like, should I really, like, research and go through everything to expose Ethan Klein allegedly not being as against extremism as he would say? Or should I just, like, play the stuff I know? And I'm going to go for that because there's other things I want to focus, like, a more structured video on. But, yeah, basically, when I made a video about Ethan Klein's crusade against Hassan for being, like, some sort of rabid anti-Semite, one thing that caught my eye, and I found particularly hilarious, obviously, someone who's a bit older, been watching YouTube for a long time, been a YouTuber myself since 2017, Ethan Klein said he has always been fighting extremism online, right? So this guy has been a crusader against extremism, no matter if it's left-wing or right-wing, he's just against it. And he's been like our strongest soldier against especially like right-wing extremism. So when he has heat for the left, that's just him being like a real great fighter against radical elements on both sides. So I have the post here, right? And this is just so insane. So he was talking about, you know, Hassan just being an extremist. And he said, when I made the show with Hassan, I genuinely thought he was just a social democrat progressive like me. I mean, even you saying that about yourself is really funny.
Bro, you're not a progressive, Ethan Klein. You are not a fucking progressive. You're like a fucking centrist. You're like an omni-liberal destiny ass type bitch.
I had no idea his politics were so radical. That's my fault. 90% of the time he's shitting on Republicans, and that's what I had seen, but his politics are like a Trojan horse, a veneer of reasonability with extremely radical views hidden within. The cracks began to appear when we started talking about Ukraine, Taiwan, and Tibet. Once I noticed, it all began to fall apart. I'd be interested to hear, like, your problems with what he said about Tibet. I hold myself accountable for anyone from my audience that was radicalized by him.
I hold myself accountable for anyone that left me.
Which is why I'm doing what I can to undo the damage. I've come to see Hassan as MAGA for the left, spinning alternate realities to fit the dogmatic view of the world. As someone who's been fighting extremism for many years, absolute fucking lie, and just so funny, funniest thing he's probably ever said. I cannot look the other way when it comes from my side of the aisle. Absolutely insane. He thinks Hassan is like some, you know, far left extremists. But let's just start with what he went on to say recently. Him and Hila Klein praised Yoav Gallant, right? And Ethan said, well, I don't know much about him, before going on to then defend him calling Palestinians animals as he started to justify the invasion of Gaza, right?
Him and Bibi like talk a lot, and Bibi's become a lot like Trump.
Yeah,
so.
Bibi's his guy. They're like homies. Bibi's celebrating last night.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired
A really good guy. Keep that shit in mind. He was not a good guy. He was a war criminal. He's trying to get arrested by the ICC.
him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump coded.
Well, he was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
And he got rid of him, or at least a more moderate voice. I don't know anything about the guy. Just recognize his picture. He looked mean. I thought he was mean just because he looked mean.
No, it's not.
So he goes on to defend not only his wife for saying this, but defend some of the horrible things Gallant has said, while saying that Hassan is purity testing people who might be secular and still support Zionism, right? If they are like you, then yeah, he should be purity testing anyone who thinks like this. So he says, Hila doesn't know a lot about politics, but she knows that Gallant is opposed to Netanyahu and wants to end the war. That's why she said he's a good guy. He wants to end the war. She's right that it's objectively bad that he got fired. I mean, I wouldn't say that. And then a quote where Gallant called Palestinians human animals and saying there will be no electricity, food or fuel, which is actually like a war crime. Like he's saying, I'm going to do war crimes. This is on October 8th. Ethan defends this, saying this quote is from the 8th and it's a direct response to October 7th. I think it's reasonable assumption that he was talking about the Hamas militants that killed civilians. Either way, this is the guy in his war cabinet that wanted to end the war, and he was just fired. If you care about war ending, then you agree with Hila. Already, that one thing is more extreme than anything Hassan has ever said. You're literally supporting a war criminal and supporting the rhetoric of a war criminal. Your wife then says a war criminal is a good guy. You're saying he's a moderating voice, and then you double down on that. This is a war criminal. It's like you telling me that Rommel was a good guy in Nazi Germany and was some sort of moderate. Even if he was a moderate, by their standards, he's still a Nazi, right? So you even saying that makes you more extreme than Hassan, so that's absolutely hilarious. But Ethan Klein seems to like have his brain like scrambled. Does he not remember his whole history? He has been like an edgy comedian for a long, long time.
I think Israel hits people with that fucking that Men in Black like mind wiper.
Now, if you guys don't remember this, there are multiple podcasts of Ethan Klein sitting around with iDubbbz and other people just saying slurs, like the N-word and stuff, right? I don't think anyone who fights extremism on both sides is sitting around shouting the N-word on their own podcast. But that is just one thing. So Ethan Klein probably thinks he's been fighting extremism because this is his stance on Black Lives Matter back in like 2015, 2016, right? And can I remind people, this man is like middle-aged now. So when I'm showing you older clips from like 8 years ago, this isn't like a 21-year-old or something or a 19-year-old. This is like a nearly 40-year-old man saying this stuff. Again, a guy who thinks Hassan is so radical. He's the arbiter of what's extreme, despite him and his wife calling a legit war criminal some sort of moderate.
Yesterday we made the mistake of almost talking about politics, and we basically triggered so many people. I was actually shocked. This time we spoke about the Black Lives Matter and a Joey Salads experiment, but when it's something as politically charged as a race and Black Lives Matter, it's really f***ed up. We never expressed an opinion, we never expressed support for Black Lives Matter, yet if you look at the comments, they are insane. We made a video making fun of crazy feminists, and all the people on the left were coming and calling us Trump supporters, that we were a haven for the alt-right, and we're unsubbing and getting triggered. And here's my point. Each side hates each other so much that they're so clouded by hate and judgment that nobody listens. In both of those videos, we never even expressed any opinion about either side. This show is about rational thought. It's about cutting through the bull, whether you're on the left or the right. This is not a politically affiliated show, and it never has been. We're about cutting through the bullshit. In this climate, it's like, you can't say anything anymore. Each side, the left and right, see each other as the devil.
Bro, get off the center. Get out of the middle, bro. Ethan Klein, get out of the middle. You're in the center, you centrist fuck. Jesus Christ. Pick a lane.
Not as like human beings with compassion and people who are worth listening to and trying to understand. Because Joey Salads faked an experiment, and they couldn't even handle the thought of us not absolutely blasting Black Lives Matter. We didn't say a word of support, but the fact that we didn't blast them was enough for them to unsub, downvote the video. You're welcome to hate Black Lives Matter. I don't like a lot of the shit they do either. But you want to base your beliefs on a fake social experiment? At least if you want to hate Black Lives Matter, which is perfectly fine. God bless you. Do it on something real. Okay? Go find a real reason.
So can I just remember the words Ethan Klein used? I have been fighting extremism for many years. Here is him basically trying to be a centrist between Black Lives Matter and racists, and basically saying, I don't have an opinion either way. I'm the centrist in this, and Black Lives Matter, you know, I have problems with them as well. Is Black Lives Matter back then, were they considered extremists? I mean, I guess they were if you were right wing. But yeah, that's where he's coming at it from. Like, I am the center, both sides are bad, and that's back in 2016. Again, fighting extremism for many, many years. So he also had this podcast that seemed to love platforming mostly right-wing people if they got political. He had Jordan Peterson on twice, and of course they were like shitting on the left. Now, I would always have considered Jordan Peterson an extreme voice. People who didn't back in the day were just deluding themselves. I've made videos, I think like one of my first controversial videos I made in 2017 calling Jordan Peterson like a legit misogynist, right? So he's always been more extreme in his views, and even though he used to be able to phrase it a bit better, like what he was talking about, I would always say he was more extreme than Hassan, at the very least. So if you've got a problem with Hassan now, you'd think you'd always have a problem with Jordan Peterson, not getting him on your podcast to agree with him loads. To be fair, back in 2017, I would definitely say Ethan Klein could have changed by then. But if you're making the point you have fought extremism for many, many years, then I'm using your own standards. Many, many years. I consider many, many years to be like, let's say 7 years. Let's use that metric, right? But here's an even worse one, right? Ethan Klein was big friends of JonTron back in the day.
Yup.
Used to work for him, or Hilo Klein used to work for him. Now, of course, the only good thing Destiny ever did on the internet was debate JonTron when
For real, fuck Destiny. That's the only good thing he ever did, literally.
he just went like mask off, like full fascist, like not even trying to dog whistle really, literally just saying the most like unhinged far right stuff. But because the internet was different back then, everyone just acted like it wasn't a big deal, but this guy just outed himself as like a legit 4chan like poll user, basically.
Support all of the poor people, because poor whites commit a lot of crime too. disproportionately compared to wealthier whites.
That's just not true. But okay,
Wait,
you
hold
can
on.
say that if you want to.
Wait. You don't think that
Well,
poverty,
yeah, well, yes. In relative
in relative
terms,
terms, yes.
in relative to wealthy whites, yes.
Sure.
You're correct.
Okay, so do you think that poor blacks probably commit more crime relative to wealthier black people?
They do. Wealthy blacks also commit more crime than poor whites. That's a fact.
Wait, what?
Yeah, look it up.
Where is these movements of Mexicans trying to get Texas to go back to Mexico? What?
When you have these illegals coming up and getting so bold to say, "Try deporting me, Trump," people see themselves, I'm assuming, as Mexican. I don't know that they come here and the soil magically turns them into Thomas Jefferson's direct descendant. So
why do they need to be Thomas Jefferson's direct descendant? That's some racist shit. If everybody has to be Thomas Jefferson's direct descendant, that means you don't want immigrants.
Why is it that white people, especially white Americans, resisting their own displacement is racist?
Because you're
It's
talking
not
about
racist.
displacement.
But don't worry, once he did this, Ethan Klein, the extremism fighter, gave him a platform on his podcast where they had like a nice friendly chat, and they even talked about this. They even talked about him going full mask off fascist. And many years extremism fighter who praises war criminals, what did he have to say about this?
I'm sure people want to know about this, so I'll just get it out of the way. Because I haven't talked about it since then, for good reason. I don't really want to get into this. It's a minefield of sorts. I'm not going to go back and nitpick everything I said and qualify it or anything. All I'm going to say is that, yeah, in that moment, I was, going into something that I needed a lot more time to prep for. I just went in guns blazing because you get a little arrogant sometimes, I guess. You think, like, I'm going to take this guy to task. But, obviously I understand, why people had the reaction that they did. So, I felt bad about the incident in a sense. But, I also just feel bad that we can't talk about these things without witch hunting each other.
Right.
What can't we talk about being racist and being a fascist and Nazis and keeping immigrants out of the country without getting bad?
Because that's basically my full statement.
Okay. I mean, do you feel like you said some things that you regret?
Yeah, I could have phrased a lot of that better.
Well, let me just say for the record, that I disagree with a lot of the stuff you said, but I still think if you genuinely feel a certain way, or some people genuinely feel a certain way, the correct way to deal with it is not to prevent them from saying it.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of that.
We should be able to talk about it. Even if I strongly disagree, but I think that
even if you're a white nationalist, you should still be able to say whatever you want without repercussions.
Should still be able to talk about it. I mean, I don't know. It's
how
so
I feel.
tricky.
It's tricky. By the way,
is it an impossible task for someone who's a fan of? If you say something they really disagree with, is it an impossible task for them to be like, I'm trying to get in the mind. I really disagree with that. I hate what he said, but I still love him as a person and as an entertainer. I guess that's a timeless question.
I mean, it's. I don't think it's a stretch to say the current social climate's insane.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And the only way we'll ever get past it is just talking about stuff.
I'm not defending what you said. I just state again for the record, I disagree with a lot of the you said, but that's fine.
But
it's
we
okay.
can still be
yeah,
friends.
that's part of the problem is that people were like, I can't believe that you're still friends with John. And I'm like, why? He's the same person. I love him. He's a good friend of mine. We can talk about this stuff amongst each other and try to find a common ground, right?
Yeah.
It's way better to have a conversation and try to understand each other. Otherwise, you just end up with these segregated groups, people who hate each other.
Yeah.
You really expect me to just be like, you said something that I disagree with and I can't talk to you anymore. How sick is that?
Yeah, I agree.
So just for context there, right? JonTron went full mask off Nazi. Ethan Klein says, I disagree. We can still be friends. We can still talk about these things. I'm not going to get rid of you because you were an extremist, right? Hassan never said anything that extreme. Never, ever said anything that extreme.
Yeah, he never said nothing like that.
You burnt your entire relationship with him and then started a massive campaign to try and end his streaming career because you said he was extreme. Why the double standard? Could it be that you're the one with more extreme opinions? You support war criminals. You support Israel. You support this state of settler colonialism and apartheid. So much so you went there and decided you wanted to become part of it. You wanted to become a citizen. I am saying that is more extreme than anything Hassan has said. And me and Hassan, of course, we share a lot of beliefs. Obviously, I'm not in his mind. I don't know, everything he said. He said some crazy shit as well. But also, even Klein, you've said some crazy shit.
For real.
What did you say about Aaron Bushnell?
Facts.
Straight after he died, in a private little stream that you thought no one would see, what did you say about Ben Shapiro? I hate Ben Shapiro. What you said was fucking insane.
Yup.
Would say that's extreme. So we've got you praising war criminals, that thing you said about Ben Shapiro. Then we have you also downplaying an actual fascist coming on your podcast, having loads of fascists on your podcast, like fascist adjacent people like Jordan Peterson, and glazing him. And again, by your own standard, if you said, I used to be more like controversial, right wing, all that stuff, and I decided that is bad for the internet, so I've decided in recent years I'm going to change and fight extremism, that would be one thing. You saying you are the extremism fighter for many, many years is absolutely, it's fucking bullshit, and you've normalized...
That is bullshit. That's like the most... That's like me saying I'm like the fucking, that's like me saying I'm the Pope of the Jews. Like, what the fuck am I talking about?
So much of this. If you're having Jordan Peterson on your podcast followed up by JonTron after he's outed himself as a fascist, and you're normalizing all their views, you've done way more damage to the internet culture than someone like Hassan has. And again, this is all based around one issue. You're now shitting on him for Ukraine, Taiwan, Tibet. You had no problem with that shit. It's because he's gone against Israel, now you care. You bring on people...
Yup.
Podcasts who have no problem going to Israel and palling around with Zionist extremists. People who did half a sociology degree and read Wikipedia, they're the experts because they believe what you say, but Hassan is a left-wing extremist, and he's basically like the left-wing version of Donald Trump or something, right? Absolutely insane. And the fact that you think you have any moral high ground on extremism, building your career on edgy humor, building your career on racism against black people, which included saying the N-word loads, building your career on platforming some of the most toxic people on the internet and downplaying how bad they were, building your career on just being like some edgelord comedian who said way more extreme things than most people on the internet, only to turn around and start calling Hassan an extremist because he criticizes Israel, while you're praising some of the architects of what happened in Gaza as moderates. If you think Yoav Galan is a moderating voice and what he said on October 8th wasn't bad, what does that say about your own politics? You're not some sort of moderate. You're not some person who has any high ground on morality and politics. You're basically someone who's had their brain broken and has been spending too much time talking to Destiny fans and Destiny because people are challenging your ideology where, yes, you joined the Israeli state voluntarily because you like what you saw. And now people are calling you out for that. And you can't handle it because deep down I think you know, yeah, Israel as a construct is a bad thing. You're bad for becoming a citizen of Israel by choice, even though you were born in America. And I guess now you decided just to double down because you can't take any criticism. And the only people you'll get in your podcast to talk about this are people who you know will agree with you. So I thought I'd just make this video because I always thought it was hilarious. And this thing caught my eye, especially him thinking...
Great video,
him
bro.
thinking he's ever fought extremism. You have done nothing but normalize extreme voices, and you've said more extreme things than most people. You have no moral high ground. Even if Hassan was some crazy radical Maoist, you have no high ground on him at all. So that's it for the video. Let me know what you guys think, and thank you for watching.
Alrighty, that was that. Let's move on to the next subject. It is what it is. It's our boys from Lebanon. It's ya boy. What's that guy's name again? Shit. I just know it's the Do Not Worry podcast. Let's get that intro. Do not worry. Hey, 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 hey.
Well, howdy, folks. Welcome to a brand new episode.
What up, buddy?
Do Not Worry, episode number 155. I'm your host, Anthony, coming to
Anthony. It's Anthony. What up, Anthony?
We're just going to move on to the BadEmpanada interview, so check that out. I hope you guys enjoy it. He was a really lovely dude to talk to. Folks, we are joined by BadEmpanada, the man himself, joining us from Argentina. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast. How's it going?
I'm very good. It's very good to be here on the official podcast of Lebanese State and also the terrorist group Hezbollah.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to hear it. Thank you for that description. We hope we do not get demonetized because of it. Thank you, BadEmpanada. A great start. I just a quick question just to start things off. How sick are you of talking about Ethan Klein?
It's okay when it's like sort of a good excuse to talk about a broader topic, but just really boring because he doesn't actually really talk about stuff. And at least the first few times he sort of tried to make arguments. Now he's just like screaming anti-Semitism at everyone. So kind of very sick.
I know, and it's like I thought it would end pretty quickly, but he seems, I don't know like how familiar you are with Ethan and like how he handles drama, but like his drama with Trisha Paytas is still ongoing. His lawsuit with Ryan Kavanaugh, he's been talking about that for like 2.5 years maybe or something like that. So if he's gonna follow in the same footsteps with Hassan, we might be in this for a year, 2 years. So like I don't know how often I want to cover this, but
yeah, I mean, I feel like he's not gonna really move on to like. The first couple of times it was like an opportunity to talk about sort of like, you know, what does terrorist mean? How does it make any sense that this person is called a terrorist when this other person isn't? And like, there was also an opportunity to talk about the Nakba. Like, I started just sort of making fun of him because he had like a video that I saw. It was like my entry into this whole thing where he was like talking about how like George W. Bush is super wholesome because he paints.
Oh my God.
And then I started looking at the rest of it, and it's just like, okay, this is like a good opportunity to like get some eyes on like you know, more important topics. And now it's just like he's just like throwing out like the dumbest slander and defamation every 2 seconds. He's no longer really talking about anything serious. So it's like, kind of
he's completely
outstayed his welcome.
So when was that? Like, when was that George Bush video? So like, when did you become familiar with Ethan Klein?
I saw it like maybe 2 months ago. Let me check.
Okay, so
just to be exact, like two-ish, 3-ish months ago, and that was like around the time I think that he started like his whole anti-Hassan thing. And that was like sort of my entry into that. And then I just saw him like screaming at the Yemeni guy that Hassan talked to, and it's like, and I knew by that point what Hila had done in the IDF, and it's like, okay, how the fuck does it make any sense to you to call this guy a terrorist based on practically nothing when you're married to a fucking IDF veteran? So that was my entry into it. And now he just complains like, this guy, like Hassan is associating with this guy who called Hila a terrorist, and he doesn't even try to elaborate on why that's bad, why it's wrong. He just acts like it should by default be like impermissible when he's been slandering this guy as a terrorist for months.
Well, he never really responds to anyone that can make like a cogent argument, so he's just going to call you names like he's been doing, and I don't think he's ever going to address anything you've said.
Yeah, I learned that already. That's why I'm kind of over it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I don't even think he's seen any of my videos yet. He probably has no idea who I am. But like I
think he mentioned you in his story a couple of times, didn't he?
I did appear in the stories, but like he never mentioned me by name. I was just a guest on the Arabs pod, so with Frogan, Capri, and Raf, all three of them were on the Sabra Hummus panel that got them banned off and all of that sort of thing.
True.
So I'm friends with them digitally. So I was on an episode with them. We were talking about how Israelis are always appropriating Arab food. He went crazy about how we were saying that.
Yeah, I responded to that in the Nakba video.
Yeah. So he was pretty angry that we were saying that hummus is Arab. So he again sort of lost his mind.
Yeah, great argument by him there. Like, I don't know, him and other Israelis, and I will call him Israeli. He really doesn't like it when you call him Israeli, even though he literally isn't Israeli, by the way. I noticed that. But him and other Israelis, like it's yeah, you know, it's fine to say that like Arab Jews ate the same food. Yeah, but there's a difference between that and saying it's Israeli now, you know? Because you know, there's Arabs everywhere in the world. I don't call Arab food, you know, I don't call fucking hummus Australian. There's like millions of Arabs in Australia. How does that make any sense?
Exactly. Or like
the argument's just so dumb.
Or Indian cuisine in England, like it's not all of a sudden British cuisine now because Indian people in England are making it. It's still Indian food.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And the whole reason that comes up is because they want to deny that they're Arab in the first place. They don't want to acknowledge it, so they just call it Israeli instead.
Like, and I just wanted to ask, so like, I mean, I discovered you through this whole Ethan Klein thing. So if there's one positive is that I've been finding a lot of other creators online. I just saw you did like a collaboration with Uninformed Leftist, who's also his channel has been growing a lot just because of mainly because of Ethan. He's been covering the Ethan drama a lot. So like the Vanguard that have been covering it as well. I don't know if you watch them. They do like a lot of political commentary, and like drama commentary. Ethan's Basement, who literally used to be an Ethan Klein fan channel, who used to make just compilations of H3, made a whole like video critiquing Ethan and like his descent into madness.
Yup.
So it's just been kind of funny how H3 views are dropping, literally dropping, and I can see where all those views are going. Like they're literally being split amongst all these new little creators. And like, I mean, you've been around for a while. You have a lot more subscribers than we do. But it's just been fun. Like, how did you come across our video? Like, I'm curious because you left a comment on my first Ethan Klein video, and a lot of people were like, "Yo, BadEmpanada's fucking like talking to you."
I don't remember exactly. I think someone linked it in my Discord or something. I'm not 100% sure.
It was a very pleasant surprise because like I was literally watching your video the day before, and I'm like, it's just and like the H3 Snark Reddit, that I think they don't like mentioning you, I guess, because you've been deemed too controversial. You're too dangerous for Reddit. Like that's how.
Good.
That's
I like that. That's
I
a good
know.
label.
That's and I love it.
Damn.
Show up on Zoom. It's like every time it
I
happens.
really don't understand what's going on with that, but it's cool. It's fine.
Anytime you do a thumbs up, like the software, half the time it kind of recognizes it. It will give you a thumbs up.
Wow, what an amazing application.
It doesn't work when you need it to. You know what I mean? Like the way I guess I define like the Ethan versus Hassan thing. It is interpersonal, parasocial YouTube drama, but at the very least, it's tied to a very sort of pertinent issue that at least we can draw attention. We can use that YouTube drama to talk about Palestine and Israel and what's happening over there.
For real.
There's something behind it that we can
redirect that energy. Go like, wow, Palestine, free Palestine.
a broader message to kind of point to. I think it's okay. That's kind of how I've been justifying the whole Ethan versus Hassan thing. Also, it's just fun poaching his audience. Literally, like my channel used to only appeal to Lebanese people, and like Lebanon has a huge diaspora. A lot of us live everywhere, like around the world. So I would get like some views from Lebanese people living abroad. Literally now half my audience is coming from like North America. I got people watching from Australia, from like the UK.
Hey.
Most of them Fallen fans, H3 fans, and like our audience used to be 70% male and 30% female. It's now 51% female and 48% male. And like I literally, like right now my biggest anxiety is like, how do I keep this new audience and how do I keep them interested? Because I used to talk about things that are completely unrelated to Hassan and H3, and I just talk about like weird random Lebanese drama, and now I have the stress of appealing to a Western audience. And the only reason I switched to English was just when the war started. I was like, I just want to speak in English so that I can kind of cover the war in Lebanon and talk about it and have everyone understand. And now we're kind of stuck in this little
committed to it. Yeah, I mean, I think even, for example, he complained on his Instagram story that like Hassan platformed me and he made my channel blow up and all of this. But no, it's not that. It's not that. It's that like he is inadvertently expanding the audience of a ton of people who are just like sort of using him as a springboard to refute him on very important points as to what's going on in the Middle East right now, obviously. And he doesn't really realize that, but he's having like this massively positive effect. Like
I wonder if like we can get this message out, but I really wonder what Ethan Klein would say about Cuba, guys. It's like, Ethan Klein, what do you think about the Cuba embargo that America has had for 70 fucking years, and like people are starving and shit? He was like, well, they deserve it. They're a bunch of terrorists. Fuck them. But like, this is against like, human rights laws, and we were supposed to stand for human rights. Fuck them. They're terrorists. They're brown. They're terrorists.
Seeing a ton of people who are talking about really important things that he would prefer they didn't talk about. So I made a video on my second channel, like I made Ethan Klein his own song called "Thank You, Ethan Klein."
I love that song.
He helped me out, and he's helped you out. He's helping everyone out. Thank you, Ethan.
And he's indirectly helping Palestine. So actually, he might actually be a hero for the Palestinian cause. Like inadvertently, he's like supplying all these people with all these creators that are.
He really doesn't realize it, that he's helping to disseminate exactly what he doesn't want to.
Well, there's these other two creators that I honestly just only recently discovered. Like the first time I heard of Destiny was when I was watching his debate with Norm Finkelstein and Loner Box. I know you have sort of a long history with these two dudes. I just recently had a minor spat on Twitter with Loner Box. Sort of like, what's your history with these two guys?
These guys are two insane Zionists. Loner Box and Destiny. They're insane Zionists. Like, fucking crazy, dude.
guys, and Destiny's embroiled in some.
And Destiny has hung out with Nick Fuentes and all these fucking weirdos, and that's who Ethan Klein basically gets all his battle strategies from.
Kind of
his
weird
debate
controversy
strat.
Right now, we don't need to get into that, but
Destiny's some guy who went from playing video games to debating politics. And I've been an unperson for him. Like, he doesn't talk about me anymore since like 3 years ago, where I debated him on colonization in general, like just colonialism, and he looked like a child who never heard of the concept before. And Lonerbox was some guy who was like a liberal Zionist, though this was like 2 years ago. No one really realized that he was a liberal Zionist, and I called him out for it. And he kind of got away with it because everyone's just like, oh, come on. Like, he says West Bank settlements are bad. He says that he acknowledges that Nakba happened. What more do you want from him? So, like, I got accused of being an anti-Semite for calling him out on that for, like, years, and then the Gaza genocide happened, and it kind of sucks, but I guess that's what it took for people to realize who these people really are. I don't know, like, he's from a Maronite family, and, I mean, they're not, like, super committed to, like, Falangism or anything, but, there's certainly an association, and I don't really see the way how someone like that could become what he is unless there is some sort of, like, familial bias involved there.
There is a very sort of an extreme Christian section of the population here in Lebanon that like hates Hezbollah, that fought against the Palestinians a few decades ago. But I mean that's a whole complicated issue. But speaking of complicated issues, and now that we have you here and you're a pretty seasoned political and historical sort of commentator, the situation in Syria right now is extremely confusing, and for most people that are watching, they've just spent the last year learning about Palestine and like getting to know the basics. Could you give us just a quick overview of what's going down in Syria right now? Because like the internet is all over the place. So like if you support Palestine, but if you don't support Bashar al-Assad, you're like a traitor to the cause, and people who are supporting Bashar al-Assad are being called out. People don't know what to think of what's happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad guys in this story right now.
Can you kind of quickly break it down to us? What is currently happening in Syria? What should people think of this whole situation?
Well, I don't think that anyone should take what I say about Syria as like the word from a seasoned expert on Syria or anything. All that I know is that HTS, whose full name I've already forgotten, is a split from the Al-Nusra Front, which was an Al-Qaeda affiliate. And I don't know precisely what happened in like the intermediate years, during the sort of cold point of the war. For the last 2 or 3 years, it's been pretty uneventful. But they have suddenly sort of surfaced, and now they are contributing the vast majority of the fighters.
I really hope the Kurds win. I want Kurds to like somehow fucking make their own little state. I feel bad for them.
To the rebel factions, previously that was not really the case. I get most of my news on Syria from Kurdish sources because the Kurds just fight everyone, and I feel like that's probably the least biased source to get it from. And the Kurds are calling them Turkish-backed mercenaries, which, I mean, I don't think is true, but, they clearly don't like them very much. They're not just fighting government troops, they're also fighting the SDF, which is the Kurdish army. I don't know, it seems really confusing, difficult to understand what is going on, difficult to understand, like, who's the least bad side here versus a former Al-Qaeda affiliate.
I think the Kurds are the least bad side, guys. The Kurds are at least like not as crazy fanatical religious fanatics. They're like more secular. They're more like democratic. The Turkey keeps fucking destroying them. It's Turkey. Turkey keeps destroying them, like fucking shooting missiles at them. It's like, but they're American allies. But America doesn't do nothing about it because America doesn't give a shit. Sucks to suck, American ally.
And the Assad government, and then you also have like a third faction who is like the Kurds, who are sort of trying to like negotiate on autonomy between everyone, including Turkey, who are also backing HTS, and I don't know. It's a hyper confusing situation, and shit's changing extremely fast. Shit is going down. Like they've taken the second biggest city in Syria in a matter of days.
It is. The way I kind of see it, the way I kind of understand it, and I could be completely off base, is that it's basically like ISIS 2.0 right now. Like I think we should be like, I don't like Assad at all. One of my best friends is Syrian. His family fled Syria because of the Assad regime and all of that. But like, I think in this case of the lesser of two evils, and I'm not a lesser of two evils fan, but like, I think we should probably support Bashar al-Assad against like what seems to be like a terrorist uprising, or like at least like in my opinion, or like a second version of ISIS, and they might want to try to come into Lebanon and destabilizing the whole region, and they might be doing this now because Hezbollah has been kind of weakened in their eyes, so Hezbollah isn't there to maybe fight them the way they might have been.
Bro, of course America would support another fucking terrorist group out of nowhere and hope that they destroy Russia so that watch this terrorist group turn back on watch this group of terrorists turn back on us again, like the Mujahideen.
Been able to. It might also sort of decrease the flow of weapons from Syria into Lebanon. So the timing of this just seems very suspect. Right after the ceasefire in Lebanon and right after all the aggressions against Hezbollah for this to be happening right now. So it does seem to be like Israel and the US are directly involved in the funding of these forces and rebels that are fighting the Assad government. So that could be an explanation. I am the farthest thing from a political expert or like an expert on fucking Syria. This thing is extremely confusing. But that's what I've kind of tried to gather so far. So it seems bad. It seems very bad for sure. Is all
yeah, I mean, they're going to clip the part where you said that we should support Assad. I mean, I wouldn't say we should support him, but in this situation, I don't know. Like, HTS is sufficiently bad that even like Western countries designate them as a terrorist group. I'm not sure if the West wanted them to become the dominant rebel faction. And by the way, they're not even a part of the main rebel umbrella group. They're a part of their own umbrella group solely for like Islamist groups.
Yeah.
So that's how bad they are. Like they're even worse than the normal Islamists. So to me, yeah, I don't know what to think. I don't know what I should be hoping for. But like this is like one of the worst case scenarios. Like I don't think they are as bad as ISIS, but like, you know, they're not that much better. And it's not a good thing they have become a dominant faction from previously being in a position where, you know, they were just kind of contributing to a much broader coalition of groups. And at this point, like I don't really want to make any pronouncements. I don't know who to support. Like the only group in this who themselves,
the Kurds are cool guys.
I wouldn't say I support like. You know, like the least of all the evils are like the Kurdish factions. They're the most agreeable because they don't really ask for that much. You know, they're like, okay, I don't care who wins, just give us an autonomous region, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, it's really easy to not be against that, and they just sort of fight everyone. And I don't know, but I don't really, you know, I don't want to make any like concrete pronouncements like yes, let's back Assad or whatever.
And just to clarify, I do not back Assad. It's funny how you think people flip this. Like I'm not at a point.
This is going on Ethan Klein's story.
I'm not at a point where you're clipping me so far or out of context. If that starts happening, in fact, I'll be pretty happy if I start getting clip chimmed.
Yeah, I guess that is a good idea. That's a good indication.
Cool. Well, I had a quick question, just a fun little thing. Not a fun little thing, but like something that I want to get your opinion on. Movies in Lebanon are getting banned because of like having Israeli actors in them or something. So Gladiator 2 just got banned because there's an actor in there that used to be in the IDF. And Venom 3, which I'm sure you're super interested in, also got banned because apparently the producer Avi Arad used to be in the IDF back in the 60s and even fought in like the 10 Days War or something back in the 60s. And he produces basically every single Spider-Man related movie that comes out. Now, they always used to come out, but now I guess they're taking it more seriously. Anytime a Gal Gadot movie comes out, it gets banned in Lebanon. We don't get any of those. So what do you think about banning movies starring Israelis? Do you think more countries should start? Not Israelis, at least. I mean, I think it's kind of a slippery slope. I think if someone happens to be Israeli, like let's say Natalie Portman or something, like it's fine, release the movie. Because, I mean, movie theaters are already kind of struggling as it is when you're stopping every major blockbuster from coming out. But at least IDF soldiers, like I think that's pretty bad. I used to.
That's fair.
So when they banned Wonder Woman a few years ago, I kind of complained about that, and I used to be like, it should be up to the consumer. You know, if you want to boycott it, more power to you. I fully support that. But if someone else who just wants to go watch Wonder Woman or a movie theater wants to play it and try to make some money off of it, they should be able to. But now I've gone full 180 on that. I'm more than happy to ban that shit. We don't need to be watching Venom 3 or Gladiator 2. I hear they're both pretty shit anyways. But sort of, what's your take on that? Is Lebanon based?
I mean that's good. It should be far more extensive than that. Like basically any like IDF veteran should be banned from everything everywhere in the world, 100%. Not just movies, everything boycotted. This is like a means of pressure. It's a part of it should be a part of BDS. By BDS I just mean like the concept rather than the specific BDS organization. Like boycotting, you know, Israeli products boycotting Israelis, for example, like Israelis who are like public figures who are pro-Israel, stuff like that, former IDF members, stuff like that, in any sphere, like fucking just blanket ban on IDF veterans doing tourism anywhere in the world. I'm all for stuff like that.
True.
It's the sort of thing that like I don't think like the boycott of South Africa ever went that far, but it didn't go that far because it didn't need to. In this case, it you know, something like that would absolutely be warranted 100%. Like this is the way that you put pressure on a country to force it to change what it's doing, stuff like that. You get in where it hurts. Now, as to getting anyone to actually participate in this, you know, Israel is very uniquely protected by the West, which makes doing so incredibly impractical in many situations. You know, the US even has laws like against boycotting Israel. What a fucking joke that is. Even on like an individual basis, it's not allowed. Yeah, I think like on a moral level, it's fine. As to whether it's possible or practical to do, it would be. It would be. But as long as like the Western Bloc remains so united in favor of Israel, it's difficult to pull off.
Actually, let me see if Ethan is live streaming right now. It's Monday. There should be a new H3 episode coming out. Because Frogan did a podcast with Bad Hasbara on last week.
Oh, yeah.
And like it drove Ethan insane because the host of that podcast, like the best part is that he is an anti-Zionist Jewish man. So that is the like kryptonite to Ethan's argument because like
the one insult that he has is gone. Shit.
Exactly.
Oh, no, he'll probably just call him a capo. He has two insults. He has those two: anti-Semitic and capo.
He called him a scumbag on Instagram stories.
Close enough.
There's one more question that I want to ask you because you mentioned this in our chat once and it sounded pretty cryptic. You told me like, do you want to talk about Lebanese people living in Australia? So first of all, I take it that you live in Australia. You're Australian. What is it about Lebanese people in Australia? What's the deal? What do we do over there? I know there's a massive Lebanese population there. Like there's this lady on TikTok who makes like donuts who's very famous that I see. I forget what they're called, but she has like this crazy brand of donuts. But I know so many Lebanese people in Australia. What are we up to over there? Do you guys hate us, or are we a cherished part of Australian society?
Well, yeah, I think it's a Lebanese podcast, so I might as well represent Lebanese people, even though I'm not Lebanese. Do some cultural appropriation. So, like in Australia, like, you know, late 80s, early 90s, like tons of Lebanese and Iraqi immigrants as well started coming over. And this was around the time that like the first and second generation of Europe, like Southern European migrants from like mostly Italy and Greece, Malta as well, were like coming in to Australia. So like the Lebanese immigrants, you know, brought their kids over, and we sort of grew up with them, like the second generation, the kids of the Southern European migrants. And I'm from like a neighborhood that was like basically nothing but migrants. Like I think still today, like 60% of people who live there speak English as a second language, something like that.
Cool.
Just like the Italians, the Greeks, the Lebanese, the Iraqis, everyone just sort of fused together into like this one sort of amalgamation of a culture there. And I think like the best like example of that is like this absolutely horrible like early 2000s Australian comedy called Fat Pizza that everyone there loves. And like the lead actor is it's a Lebanese character, like who's like a ridiculous self-stereotype exaggeration of like the WOG they called it, which was like this amalgamation of like all these immigrant groups that sort of grew up together in the same neighborhoods.
Okay.
And it's a Lebanese character played by a Maltese actor pretending to be Lebanese, and then like all the rest of the cast is basically the same situation, like a Greek playing a Turk, like stuff like that.
I love it.
And it's beautiful. It's fantastic. The show is horrible. It didn't age well, but like, you know, if anyone wants to like get a little piece of like not just Lebanese culture in Australia, but like that sort of weird like fusion of a bunch of different cultures of like kids who all grew up together in the same neighborhoods, and rather than hating each other, all sort of fused together into forming this one sort of identity. That is like what I would recommend. It has not aged well at all. When I watch it now, like it hurts, but at the time it was the greatest thing in the world.
So Fat Pizza is what it's called?
Yeah. There's clips on YouTube, but do not watch them. They're horrible.
I mean, based on what Ethan says about you, you seem like a completely just nice and chill dude to talk to. I mean, this has been a really nice conversation. It's been really nice to meet you. I mean, I genuinely, and thank you for just like commenting on videos and checking them out and talking about the channel because and talking about Lebanon and what's happening in Palestine and everything, because as you know, the mainstream media in the States is fucking crazy. The only voices, the only outlets have been online outlets and people like you.
For real.
Basically, like it's been extremely hopeless. And when the war started in Lebanon, like, dude, I thought we were gonna be next. Like, honestly, genuinely, part of me thought that they're gonna Gaza the whole fucking country. And the only reason I switched like to English was like, I just need to get the story out there. I just need to get the word out there. because it felt really desperate. So it's nice to have people like you, and you are so unabashedly anti-Israel that it's kind of like hilarious. Like you're such an amazing troll. You've also been like a perfect foil for Ethan Klein. So if anything, I'm happy this crash out is happening because it's giving people like you a bigger platform. And I love the fact that like the video, I think they made you take that down. They took that down. But like the video game segment is like hilarious because the point you made is so true. And I often like you don't think about that. Every single NPC you kill in a Call of Duty game is either an Arab or like a Russian.
For real.
Yep. Americans are so desensitized. We are such garbage to them. We're literally just cannon fodder in their movies, in their video games. That
Literally.
if you just flip the script for 1 second, if you play as an Arab that shoots an Israeli soldier in a video game, it's enough for YouTube to just take down that video. And for someone to call that anti-Semitic, yet our people are subjected to the same stereotypic adaptations. It's just fun. It's just funny to see someone just not give a shit. And like I'm always afraid of getting demonetized or getting someone in, or getting in trouble or something. So it's just kind of refreshing to have you being out there just screaming at the top of your lungs. And we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like YouTube is probably the best platform to be the way that I am because YouTube is a truly international platform. You know, they don't really, you know, like Twitch, for example. The reason why Twitch could be pressured into doing what it did to the people on the infamous Sabra Hummus panel
Insane.
is because it's American. But
Yeah.
Google,
Yup.
horrible as it is, it's an actual multinational company. They can't really be subject to, you know, pressure from one country to get a video or a channel taken down that much because they just get in trouble with the other countries that they also operate in. So there's that at least, you know. I've been like this forever. It's sadly only becoming, people are sort of realizing that I was right all along now, but that's not really the most important thing here, is it? It's at least they're realizing it with what's the shit that's happening now, in that everyone needs to sort of close ranks and just get behind the people of Gaza, the people of Lebanon, the people of the Middle East. It is at least positive that, you know, people are feeling that they can open up more and more now, that like people are less afraid. I've still seen people who are like very guarded with the way they talk about this stuff, but more and more people feel like, you know, you're gonna call me anti-Semitic? I don't give a fuck, man. Like, we're over it by now. We've seen what's happening in Gaza. Give us a fucking break.
Because it's especially Arabs. Like we feel like we have to be overly polite when we talk about these things, especially when we're abroad in the States or in the West. Because if you start yelling, or it's just this like, oh, you don't want to be a stereotypical crazy angry Arab, or you're gonna blow your like all the, you can't call Hamas a resistance force. You have to call them terrorists, or else you're automatically labeled anti-Semitic or a terrorist sympathizer.
Yup.
It's just hard. You're just constantly walking on eggshells. But I think it's too late to be polite. There's no time to be polite anymore about this. Like people are literally getting massacred every single second. So like the time to be nice is over.
Yeah, it's an ethnic cleansing. It's a genocide. At this point, you gotta talk. You gotta let people know, like, yo, this shit ain't cool. This shit is fucked up.
Need to call things out as they are, and I think that's important. One final question: are you and Hassan doing okay? I know you guys had your beef back in the day. I know he's been reacting to your videos. I love Hassan. He reacted to a couple of our clips on the podcast, kind of helped out as well. So are you guys cool? Because I consider Hassan a friend of the show. BadEmpanada, you are a friend of the show. Are you guys cool? Are you cool with Hassan?
I mean, I never really had a beef with him. Like, I've criticized him a couple of times. I mean, the things that I criticize him on had nothing to do with politics, just to do with, like, lazy reactions where he gets off the chair, and that was, like, 2 years ago. I obviously don't care if he watches my videos now. I used to be like, come on, put some effort in, you know, don't watch my videos. But now it's like, I talk to him in private once, literally once. It's funny how Ethan, like, accuses everyone who doesn't like him of being, like, in cahoots.
Yeah.
Like, he himself is ironically doing, like, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories against us. But like you know, I don't know Hassan. I just criticized him a couple of times, maybe once or twice on actual political issues, and the rest just on the reaction thing, and that's it. At this point, I don't give a shit if someone wants to react to my videos to get the word out about something, given everything that's happening in the world. There is definitely a problem of lazy ass react people on YouTube who just like play a clip and then laugh and then move on to another clip and stuff like that. But he's obviously not like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. There is some laziness going on.
He talks a fuckload. BadEmpanada, thank you so much, man, for taking the time.
Hey, BadEmpanada and Anthony.
Visit. I don't know if you ever need to come to Lebanon or the area. It might not be the safest time now, but if you ever do, you're more than welcome on the show.
Depends. I very much would like to go there and also to go to the West Bank, but Israel would not let me in.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, you're not going to get into the West Bank, but we can get you in here.
Yeah.
So
at least
got
that.
you. would be nice. Have a great night, my man. This is gonna come out soon, so we'll see you soon, and keep fighting the good fight.
You too. Thank you very much for having me on.
Hey.
Well, folks, that was the episode. Thanks again for Bad. I've been talking to all the Bads. Bad Empanada, Bad Hasbara. It's been an eventful week. Thanks again.
That's
to Bad
awesome.
Empanada for coming on the show. Super fun talking to him and getting to know him a little bit. He's a super sweet guy. I know his videos make him seem like aggressive or unhinged. He's a very sweet dude. We love him. Folks, let me just take a second to thank our lovely brand new patrons. Again, abductee patrons.
Remember,
Sash,
guys,
Abductee
like,
Boss,
comment, and
Rocket,
subscribe
Jaka,
on this
Amy Davidson,
motherfucker's
Cold Duo, and
podcast because it's the best podcast in Lebanon. Leave some love, everybody. Let's spread the love on the left. We all need it right now because we're fighting fascism and genocidal maniacs. So, all right, everybody.
patron,
We're going to end
Water
this
Bugs,
real
and our brand new YouTube
soon.
member Tangerine Picrine. Thank you guys so much. If you guys want to support us, the best way to do so is on Patreon. It's the only way we can keep this show going. A small independent Lebanese YouTube channel operating in the middle of the war. So support us. Find the link. Find the link in the. You can find the link in the description and pick a tier that's right for you. We will love you forever and appreciate you. I'm going to be organizing another Zoom call for all of our patrons, and we're going to shoot a short Patreon exclusive clip right now. And a quick thank you to a few other of our patrons like Enzo S., Karen's Cravings, Maria Mayad, superhero patrons like Joey Daboul, Ryan Nabulsi, Elias Salibi, and our God tier patrons Rifat Fakih, Elia Al-Mujaber, Jessica Ann, Jack Sleeman, Siso Hayek, Dominic Selzer, Tamara Isa. Fun little fact, if you guys want to watch me and Elijah smoke a cigarette, you got to tune into the Patreon video.
Whoa.
We love you guys. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you guys next week. And as always, do not worry.
All right, y'all. I love you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye.